If you've been waiting for news about Disneyland's upcoming 70th anniversary, it's finally here. I think I would describe the lineup as being both incredible and kind of undefeated, but also wanting more. It's good, but can it meet the incredibly high standards set by the 50th and the 60th celebrations? I'm thinking probably not. Let's take a look at the full lineup and find out why. And we'll start right at the top with the name. They're calling it basically the Disneyland Resort 70th celebration. And the theme is happy, the happiest place on earth. And I have to say, although at first I thought it was a little bit corny and happy, like how do you personify that in a park, I guess? But the more I think about it, the more I love it. First of all, Disney's amazing at corny. That's their bread and butter. And I would wish they kind of would lean into the corny more often. And Disneyland is the happiest place on earth. They've been calling themselves that since it opened. And it really is. And that's kind of the cornerstone for me. It's the reason why you and I go to the park as often as we do, why we love it, and just keep coming back and back and back, because there's something about Disneyland that makes it the happiest place on earth. I literally am the happiest I can be very often once I cross that threshold, go through the tunnel into Town Square and Main Street. It's pure happiness. So I'm hoping that they can find a way to sort of to lean into that and help realize that in the park and what happens, during the actual celebration. But happy with that. There's going to be more references to that term happy in other parts, other events, and we'll get into that. But let's start also with the date. The party doesn't begin until May 16th of 2025. That's still 5 months, almost 6 months away. No, it is 6 months away still. And when I first heard that, I hadn't heard the end date yet, and I thought, oh my God, that's not good. Why are they waiting until May? Are they just going to celebrate until, just 6 months? Do they not have a lot planned? Is there not a lot going on? But it is a year-long celebration. It's not starting in January and ending in December. It's starting in May and ending next summer. So it actually could go beyond. And I think that's kind of typical for Disney. Often these celebrations go beyond a year. So they're saying into the summer. So that's at least June, right? At least June, possibly July, maybe August, September. Who knows? It's depending on how well it goes, I guess. Which, by the way, brings to mind one of my first sort of, I'm hedging a little bit. Like, how good is this going to be? The standard set by the 50th, I wasn't present for the 50th, so I can't really say how good it was, but everybody, by all accounts, thought it was an amazing celebration. I was, though, present for the 60th, and it's kind of like when you talk about things that you love, things that you feel nostalgic about, often it is the case what you experienced in your youth. If you were a 90s teenager or, young kid, whatever TV shows were on at that time are still your favorites. Same for me. I'm an 80s kid and I love the 80s still. I have a very distinct fondness for the 60th. Probably my best times ever spent at Disneyland were during the 60th. It was an amazing party, an amazing celebration. They brought in a whole bunch of new entertainment, and there was just a wonderful, happy vibe. The parks were packed. They were running 6 shows a day. They were running fireworks twice daily, Fantasmic twice daily, and Paint the Night twice nightly. 6 shows a night. It was incredible. And I don't know I can't remember if they did that for the entire season or just during the beginning of the year. But anyway, I remember that being a thing that happened. The reason why I mentioned that in terms of how we relate to things nostalgically is that was in the infancy, 2015. Fresh Baked was just 2-3 years into its life, and we weren't anywhere near what we were today, or not even the same kind of show. But so I consider those as my youth. That was my youth as a Disneyland park goer, and so it's going to be very difficult for them for me at least, to meet the standard, at least not just in terms of what we're going to see, what the presentation is going to be, but just how it made me feel. It made me feel so happy to be. It was happy. It was the happiest place on earth. And I really, really enjoyed the 60th. And so therefore, having experienced other celebrations since then, the 100th, it was okay. I started out great, but I kind of, faded a little bit. And some of the other things, that Star Wars Celebration, Pixar Fest, um, so I'm a little skeptical. I'm a little skeptical on what they can pull off, but let's see what they are going to try and pull off. And for me, the number one story is Paint the Night. They obviously they teased this on Instagram a while back that Paint the Night was coming. We expected an announcement for the 70th at D23 last summer, and part of that I was maybe 50-50, where I thought they were gonna announce Paint the Night. I've always had a very good feeling about it. I've heard a lot of rumors. I've heard chatter, and I actually had to restrain myself from saying things publicly in a video or a live stream or whatever that I kind of knew. I kind of knew Paint the Night was coming back, but I couldn't say for sure. Disney confirmed Paint the Night is coming back, and it's going to come back starting May 16th. There was a debate about what park it was going to go to, and in order to do that, which parades were going to be taken off site. You can only keep 2 parades on site. They have room for just 2 at Disneyland. Christmas Fantasy right now and Magic Happens. Those were the parades that were in storage backstage up until not long ago. I'll go ahead and tease that now, I guess. I had notes here to say that later, but they moved Magic Happens off stage to make room for Paint. That was the parade that left the site so they could bring in Paint. They needed to bring in Paint ASAP in order to get things ready for the 70th. Magic Happens will not be returning in 2025, but that doesn't mean it's dead. It just means it's not coming back in 2025 for obvious reasons. We'll get back to that again in a minute. But so Paint the Night is going to start, when the celebration starts on May 16th, and it's going to be at Disneyland. And that alone right there is enough for me to be excited because it was Paint the Night. You guys, it was Paint the Night at the 60th that it began a love affair that I had for both the 60th anniversary celebration in general and for that specific show. I can't remember ever feeling more happy than I did the first time I saw that parade. It was the second day. I missed it the first night because we couldn't get into the park in time. I think were they doing the all-nighter that same day? And so I couldn't get into Disneyland. The all-nighter, which I think was it the first? I can't remember. But there was a reason why. Anyway, I love Paint the Night more than I love the air I breathe. And I'm really excited that it's coming back. And that's one reason to be excited about the 70th is the fact that we're going to get that for a year or more. That just makes me happy. When can we do this again? Now, some folks, I've heard chatter that they're like, why, you couldn't come up with something new? Why are you excited about just bringing back something you've already had before? And to that I say, are you insane? Look at some of the new stuff that they have created and how it doesn't measure up to our standards. We have no fears about how amazing Paint the Night is. Paint the Night is the single best piece of entertainment, I believe, that Disney's ever created. And why would I want something new that may or may not meet expectations, that may or may not be good, when we know we have Paint the Night just down the street? And we know it's good. We know it's great. We know it's amazing. I have no qualms. I'm absolutely satisfied with them bringing back Paint the Night for the 70th. I'm absolutely satisfied, even though it's a retread from the 60th. Absolutely 100% satisfied. A+ effort. Thank you very much, Disney. As for the actual show itself, in the announcement, they referenced that the parade features Monsters, Inc., Cars, Toy Story, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and more. But I have also heard, I hear a lot of chatter, I've also heard that they have developed, I think, 2 new floats, which they're for IPs that were created after the Paint the Night parade was initially created. So think of probably Pixar themed floats, although it could be, I can see them doing Coco. But just think, in general, some of the more popular, or Moana. I could see them doing a Moana float, Encanto. I could see them doing that. But I would say that if they're bringing in 2 new floats, it's probably going to come at the expense of 2 other floats. That's usually how it does. Disney just doesn't append and make the parade longer and longer. It's going to be a subtraction as well. So that's reason enough to be excited. Let's get into the second reason to be excited, and that is that May 16th will be the beginning, the premiere of the Walt Disney animatronic, the Walt Disney show at the Main Street Opera House, together with Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. Well, actually, let me take that back. Although I don't know this for sure, this hasn't been confirmed, it is consistent with how we've seen things done in the past. Expect the Walt Disney animatronic to be 100% in the theater, in the Opera House, no Lincoln, probably for that first year. I'm thinking they're going to go 100% Walt Disney in order just to make sure that everybody gets a chance to see it, obviously. Now, whether or not, I mean, maybe they don't do it the entire year, but at least at the outset. But I could see them doing that. I could see them doing that for the full 70th celebration. Although, having said that, the Walt Disney animatronic is not per se a 70th anniversary entertainment. It's permanent. It's going to be here after the 70th is done and in perpetuity. So I don't think it has to fall into any kind of sort of strict guidelines about when they can put that show on. But I do think it will be just Walt. And I'm super, super excited for this as well. It's right up there. There's Paint, and then it's the Walt show. I have a deep fondness, a deep reverence for Walt Disney and what he's been able to do, what he did with this park. And I've also been vocal about how I feel like Disney has sort of, I don't know if it's conscious or not, but they've separated themselves from Walt Disney in some ways. They're drifting away. But I just want to see him being acknowledged more, and not the opposite of that, which is unacknowledged, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. It feels like there has been a conscious movement to not have Walt in the parks. Now, there is reason to be concerned about this, though, in terms of its reception. We're going to find out just how important Walt is to the average guest. I know he's important to me, and I know he's important to you. But is he important to the other, I don't know, 70, 80% of the guests who come to Disneyland? Will it register? I'm hoping it does, because if it doesn't, then it could tip the scale back to the other side. So while I'm very excited to see Walt and his animatronic show at the Main Street Opera House, it is a reason for concern just in terms of the future of Walt's presence in Disneyland. By the way, I will also add that I was kind of bummed that they confirmed the May 16th opening for this. I thought, this whole time I've been operating on the assumption that it would be ready in January, February, or something like that. Then we reported in a construction report that there was a delay. And I'm not sure if that's the reason why they're putting it off until May 16th, because as I said before, this isn't strictly a 70th anniversary party thing or entertainment. It's a permanent part of the attraction. So they could, if they wanted to, open this thing up in February or January or March or whatever. But I think that there was a delay in getting things done. It's a big project. I'll just leave it at that. We'll give this one an A+ for me as well, because I'm personally, just selfishly speaking, I'm ready for Walt Disney in the park. I don't know if I can wait until May 16th, but we're going to have to. What's next? Wondrous, the fireworks show. The Wondrous show is returning for the 70th. That's going to be the main fireworks show. And again, this is a point where people might say, God, you're another retread? You're going to bring back another show? You're not going to give us something new? And I get that. I understand that. You think back to the 60th, we got 3 new shows for the 60th. We got Paint the Night, Disneyland Forever, which, that was new for the Disneyland Forever is fantastic. If they had brought back Disneyland Forever instead of Wondrous, I would have been fine with that too. And then we got the new World of Color show back then. I forget what it was called. We'll get to that in a minute. But so we got 3 new shows, and this time we're getting, just one. There's a new World of Color show. Again, we're going to get to that. Wondrous is good. I get why you'd want something new, but Wondrous was a really good fireworks show, I have to say. It hit me emotionally. There were a lot of moments. The Big Hero 6 moment in Wondrous was unexpectedly poignant for me. That music timed with everything, it was fantastic. So I'm not totally disappointed with Wondrous being the comeback show. Like I said, I would have been fine if they brought back Disneyland Forever. That's, people have a lot of fondness for that show as well. But I guess you can't really bring back both. At this point, you're just rehashing the 60th if you would have brought back Disneyland Forever. So I'm gonna give them a pass. I'm gonna say I'm good with Wondrous. Although I would have liked. Is it safe to expect Disney to create 2 new fireworks shows within the span of 2 years? Probably not. That is asking a lot, I think, because these things, they don't just randomly it takes a lot of time and effort and money to design a fireworks show. So I get it. It makes sense. Let's talk about World of Color. That's the other show, World of Color Happiness. So that we're back to the happy theme. And again, I'm all for it, man. I love it. I'm corny, happy, whatever, man. Make me smile. I'm down for it. It's simple, it's pure, and it defines Disney, in my opinion. So again, I'm good. There's concept art. What can we learn from this concept art? Well, it looks like it's going to lean heavily on the newer titles. They're in the foreground. Inside Out, obviously, Inside Out 2 specifically. They get they are. It looks like that's going to be the foreground, the front part of the show. That's it. Then we got some Encanto references. Let's see. Oh, Powerline. That's interesting. There's Powerline, Wish. There's the Wish Star, Turning Red, and Four Town. And then you got some vintage classic icons there. Is Frozen classic now? You got Elsa there. Is that classic? I don't know. Frozen. Let's see. Little Mermaid, Lion King. I'm concerned about this. This is where we let off with the top stuff, and now I'm concerned with World of Color Happiness. If only because I feel like the original World of Color, ever since that show came out, they have been underwhelming. World of Color is something of a unicorn, in my opinion. World of Color, the original, was kind of perfect. It was an amazing show, and it actually felt like there was a story happening. I don't know if there necessarily was. I just felt like there was more consistency in the narrative that was happening in that show, and there was a beat and there was a rhythm to it that made sense. There was highs and lows, rhythm breaks, etc. It was kind of perfect. They've never been able to match that for me. They've never. I mean, I don't know how many they've done. World of Color 1, the one for Christmas, the Halloween one was dreadful. I can't even think of even all of their names because they were really, really forgettable for me. So I'm hoping that they find some way to improve on that. But I don't have any reason to be optimistic considering what are we on? Like this is like the 6th different show they've done now for World of Color, and we're 0 for 5 on the ones that followed World of Color, the original. I don't know. I guess I'll try to be optimistic, but in my heart of hearts, I'm not expecting to be overwhelmed by this new show. Staying in DCA, Better Together is coming back. Thank you, I guess. Thank you for that. The reception for Better Together was very mixed when it came out for Pixar Fest. And part of that was because I thought Pixar Fest was kind of mixed. I enjoyed it the first day, but I completely lost interest after a week or two. Now, I go to the parks too much, so maybe my voice isn't the right one to listen to, and maybe other people had fun, but there was a definite drop-off in the energy and the fervor to see Better Together as the Pixar Fest event carried on. Pixar Fest was not a great party. It was not. It was okay. The thing they did down there in Fantasyland Theater, that was pretty good, I guess. But that was it. And the food was okay. The kiosks at DCA were, nah. But the Better Together parade is okay. It's pretty good. It doesn't have the same emotional qualities to it that literally any other Disneyland parade has ever had. It is better than the Pixar Play Parade, which was, again, just kind of okay. Anytime that Disney says yes to entertainment, I'm happy for that because they say no way too much. And they cut entertainment constantly, and they don't give us more. They give us less as far as entertainment goes. So there's that. Now, the interesting is that I guess that makes sense. They're bringing back Better Together, but not Pixar Fest. Which this is not a Pixar celebration. This is the 60th, but we are getting the return of Better Together. No word on if there's any changes to the floats or anything like that, but I don't expect there to be. So let's get next into, that's the shows. Okay, so let me talk about that for a minute while we're here. I'm going to give that overall, that's good. I'm going to give it a good. I'm going to say, just on the shows alone, we're winning for the 70th. I think we're winning. We started off with 2 A+ with Paint the Night and Wondrous. Maybe not an A+ for Wondrous, but it's still good. but I'm less than enthusiastic about World of Color and the Better Together Parade, which says a lot in terms of it was DCA versus Disneyland, right? So Disneyland's going to be a happy place. DCA, maybe not. Let's get into the costumes. The costumes and the decorations. The decorations for the 100th were that blue, sparkly. There were moments where it looked good, and there were moments when it did not look good. I wasn't completely impressed with the 70 or with the 100th decorations and costumes, and I'm going to say the same for these costumes and these decorations for the 70th. I mean, they're colorful, they're fun, they certainly are energetic, which I appreciate, but there's something just a little too try hard, especially about these Mickey and Minnie costumes. Well, for one, let's just talk about Mickey's jacket. Now, there's two possibilities here. One, that's the actual jacket and it's meant to look like that. It's meant to look like one side is way longer than the other side. And I don't know how I guess it's at the back in the seam, it tapers, right? That just looks strange to me. And I even posted something about that on Twitter, and I don't understand it. Some other folks have pointed out that it looks like it has a zipper. It looks like there's the one end of the zipper there, and I would love to see them try to zip that jacket up. The other possibility here is that's AI, and they kind of screwed up, which I would totally believe. If you told me that was AI and that's the reason why one side is longer than the other, I would totally believe you, because that's the kind of mistake that AI would make. But aside from that, let's just look at the patterns and the colors. I mean, it just looks kind of random. I don't know. They do patterns and designs and flourishes just for the sake of doing them. Minnie's dress is similar to that. The layer thing going on there, that's not typical for Minnie. And I'm not sure where this is drawing inspiration from, to be honest. I feel like it is being inspired by something, but I'm too much of a numbskull to know what that is. I am not fashion inclined in that sense, so I couldn't speak to that, but they're just okay. The costumes are just okay. We haven't seen any of the other characters' costumes, but I'm kind of meh about whatever it is that they're trying to put out there. Same for the decorations. It's the same color schemes, mostly the blue and fuchsia, maybe magenta, and you know what? Maybe it's just not me. Maybe I'm not the right person to analyze decorations and costumes. But it looks like a try hard to me. It looks like they're trying hard to do something whimsical and creative, which I guess is the point. It's supposed to be whimsical and fun and happy. And I mean, well, Mickey and Minnie look happy. So I'm not overwhelmed by that. We haven't seen any of the merch. They have just this one hat in the announcement, so I don't know what the merch looks like, but I would imagine it's going to follow the same color schemes, etc. The colors are fine. It's just that jacket is just weirding me out. The jacket's just, I don't know what to do with that jacket. Here's another thing. They mentioned in the update a character cavalcade. It's called Mickey and Friends Celebrate Happy. There's no images given here, but I assume this is meant to replace Magic Happens. They had to take Magic Happens off stage in order to get Paint the Night on stage on time, so that could they not wait until Christmas Fantasy was done? Or is it too much to ask? Is that a lot to have one parade in the morning, or afternoon, I should say, Magic Happens, and then a different parade in the evening, Paint the Night? By the way, that begs the question, how do they balance Paint the Night with Christmas Fantasy? Will Christmas Fantasy be on stage? Because this party is going to go through the holiday season. Would they do Christmas Fantasy in the afternoon and Paint the Night in the evening? I can't recall what they did. I want to say they did. I want to say they did do Christmas Fantasy for the 60th. Christmas Fantasy in the afternoon and Paint the Night in the evening. Could they not do that with Magic Happens? And then wait, like I don't know how long it takes to get an array of floats off stage or off site, and then bring in a new one. And then if they have to do any sort of rehearsing and getting things staged ready for a parade, how long that takes. Perhaps that's the reason. Maybe it was too short a time. Maybe that whole exchange would have taken, let's just say, a month or two. A month seems reasonable, right? maybe, I mean, and so that takes you into February. And so you're going to put Magic Happens on stage for what, 6 months? Well, actually, no, it could have gone through the summer. Yeah, it could have been on stage for a while. I don't know. That's just interesting. So what we got instead is a character cavalcade. I'm not crazy about character cavalcades. I feel like they are dishonest in a way. And I don't mean to say that like overly despairingly, because it's not like they're telling you, hey, this is a parade. Here comes a parade, and then it's not a parade. It's not a parade. A cavalcade is a bunch of performers on foot, 5 or 6 performers on foot walking, and then the omnibus and another Main Street vehicle, and then maybe a couple more characters behind that. It's a very short, the whole thing takes about 2 minutes. So it's definitely not a parade, but they don't bill it as one. But people, they see a thing on the schedule and they wind up, sitting on Main Street for an hour waiting for the cavalcade. It's really not worth that. I don't care how wonderful the Celebrate Happy cavalcade is. It's not worth you waiting an hour on Main Street to see it. But I think that's what that is. That cavalcade is meant to be sort of a replacement for Magic Happens. I wish they could have found a way to keep, bring Magic Happens back, because that is doing your best. That is going extra. That is going all the way, trying to put on the best possible show. This is the 70th anniversary. The guests are going to be spending a lot of money in the parks. Give them the best show possible, in my opinion. Find a way. That's what I think. Find a way. But as I often say, I've never run a theme park. I haven't the first idea how difficult it is. I imagine it probably is pretty difficult. So, I mean, maybe they're right. I don't know. Carthay Theater back at DCA is doing an exterior lighting ceremony. Again, there were no images provided for this, other than to say it's just gonna be a musical thing, and they're gonna sort of get people hyped, get people excited. I would imagine it's gonna be something like the show, the projection show they do at Small World, which, by the way, they're doing a new Small World show for this 70th also. And then finally, for the 70th, a new Celebrate Happy theme song. That's one thing Disney's good at. I generally like their music. Some people think it's corny or whatever, but I love corny. I love that about Disney music. I thought the music for Wondrous was great. And obviously Paint the Night, that's half of it right there, Paint the Night music. But so I'm optimistic about the Celebrate Happy theme song. They did say that there's more announcements to come, but I can't imagine that they're holding too much back. I can't, that more might be food and merch. So does this, getting back to our question at the intro, our question at the top, can this live up to the 50th or the 60th? No, I don't think it can. I honestly don't think it can, although I don't think it's going to be disappointing. As I mentioned, there are parts of Wondrous is undefeated. Paint the Night is undefeated. And Mickey Mouse is undefeated for that matter, even with his crazy jacket. But I just don't think it's gonna meet guest expectations, but it's still gonna be good. I just don't think it can be as good as the 60th. And maybe, like I said, I'm seeing things through my own filter, my own nostalgic youth filter of seeing the 60th anniversary in my, early years of enjoying the Disney Resort through the Fresh Baked program. But I am less than optimistic that they can really pull it off and make it a great home run. I'm hoping it will be. Well, the first day of the 100th, I was excited for it. I thought it was a great opening day, but my enthusiasm for that show waned quickly. Same thing for all the other shows that have come in the past. I really do feel like Disney has they need to find a way to really put on, just think about presentation, just think about show, and just delivering and just going for it. When's the last time they really went for it? Paint the Night was the 60th was the last time they really, really went for it. It hasn't been firing on cylinders. I think it's on its way back, and I want to believe, but we'll see. Those are my thoughts on the 70th anniversary. Along with the 70th, they also announced the full calendar for the 2025 year. Let's get into that a little bit, because that's, it's interesting. Some of the points are. And it'll fold into what's happening with the 70th. Lunar New Year, I have no reason not to like this show. It's standard. You know, I love it. It's the best food you'll get all year. The Lunar New Year is probably my favorite festival that DCA does. I mean, Food and Wine is great, but Lunar New Year has the best food typically, so I'm looking forward to that. We're going to get the return of Celebrate Gospel. Standard lineup, I'm sure, there. Food and Wine is back, and I'm hoping that that's going to be better than Festival of Holidays. Season of the Force. We mentioned that a couple times talking about the 70th. It's coming back, and I don't know why. I don't feel like the Season of the Force, we didn't even have a good first day. Normally I get super hyped, like, you know, I'm ready, and then I'm like, it's kind of fade a little bit. But I didn't even. I mean, we had fun, but it was just lacking. It seemed half. It seemed half of what it should have been. It's coming back. I asked the question in my notes, why? Why? Halloween Time is coming back, obviously, but it's coming back a week early again. It's opening August 22nd. This year, this past Halloween, it opened on August 23rd. And we thought part of the reason was because they wanted to get things started early enough because of what was going on with the Haunted Mansion. But they're bringing it back on August 22nd, which is interesting. I feel like that's too long. The Halloween season kind of goes on a little too long, in my opinion. Plaza de la Familia is coming back. That's a DCA standard. And then the holidays, obviously, at Disneyland. Those are starting on November 14th in 2025. After Dark events. I thought they were ebbing things down. I thought they were cutting back on After Dark, but in terms of the quantity of different shows they were doing. But it looks like they're going with 4 events this year again. We're going to get Star Wars Night, obviously. We're going to get Pride Night again. Sweethearts Night is coming back. That seems to be a very popular event. It's good for photo ops, etc. But instead of Disney Channel Night, we're getting 90s Night, which I don't think they've done a 90s. Have they done a 90s Night before? I know they've done an 80s Night, and they've done the Flashback Night. I forget what they called it. I can't remember if they've done a 90s Night before, but that's kind of the same as Disney Channel Night. It's kind of the same vibe, I would think. So that's the new one. The schedule is the quantity of nights is exactly the same. Two for 90s Night, 2 for Pride Night. Sweethearts Night is getting 7 nights, and then Star Wars Night, which they added a bunch of nights to Star Wars Night last year. They're going with 8 nights as well here. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 8 nights for Star Wars Night as well, which I feel like is a couple too many. I think 6 is good. Wait, are they doing 3, 5, 7? They're doing 8 nights for Sweethearts Nights too. That feels like a lot also. Oogie Boogie Bash, they really loaded up on Oogie Boogie Bash shows last year for 24, and I feel like that diluted the product a little bit. We almost didn't go. We almost didn't go to Oogie Boogie last year, and the energy was a little lower, I have to say. And we were there opening night, and the energy was a little lower for that event than we normally find, and the crowds were a little lighter. But I think again because they've spread it out. I don't know if that worked out, but well, you know what? Every time I wonder, like, God, that seems like a bad idea, and I feel like Disney's they're making a mistake by doing too many Star Wars nights or too many Oogie Boogie nights. We're getting 30-something Oogie Boogie nights. In fact, it's starting now. That's one big difference. It's starting. The first 3 nights for Oogie Boogie are before the Halloween season actually starts. The Halloween season starts on August 22nd. We have 3 nights before that. That's interesting. That's a choice. But the point I was making is that every time I think that Disney's making a mistake, they do a reversal on me, and they do it again the next year, which tells me, anytime I see Disney do the same mistake 2 years in a row, or even 3 years in a row, it tells me that they got what they wanted the previous year. They got what they wanted out of 8 nights of Star Wars Night, and they got what they wanted out of 30 nights for Oogie Boogie. It was a win for them. It must be, because they're repeating that situation. So good for Disney on that, and I hope that people do enjoy Oogie Boogie still. Whether or not we go this year is going to be another question. So that's actually the complete preview of Disney's recent announcements for the 70th anniversary and for the whole calendar for 2025. Looking forward to 70th, looking forward to it. I am both optimistic and concerned. Can't wait for the return of Paint the Night. Single best entertainment that Disney's ever done. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful that they have managed to bring that show back in spite of all the issues that could plague it. It's not an easy show to put on. But the rest of it, I'm concerned. I'm concerned, if not because of anything that I've seen per se, but just what we've experienced in the past, few celebrations and the different parties. But let us know what you guys think. Are you guys excited for the 70th? Does this lineup sound like enough for you? Do you want more? Do you want Disney to stop messing around and really go for it? Really send you like a big warm hug and like, hey, here's the 70th. We freaking love you guys. I said frickin'. I do. I love you. If I was putting on a celebration, I would go all out. My goal would just be to break even. I don't want to make a ton of money. I just want to make you happy. That's what I want. I want you to be happy. Thanks for watching Fresh Baked. I hope you are happy. If you like this show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. And you can follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. Thanks for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. Fresh Baked.